Chinese Cinderella by Adeline Yen Mah. Chapter 14. Class President. What happened to you yesterday? Wu Chun-mei whispered as we took our seats in the classroom to begin our lessons. We waited and waited for you to cut the cake, only to find out from your mother that you weren't coming back. My face was still smarting from Niang's slaps. Was it my imagination, or was my friend looking at me strangely? I couldn't help wondering if my face was bruised or swollen. Did she suspect something? I opened my book and hid behind it as I muttered, "Sorry, my mother wanted me to help around the house. You know how mothers are." I was searching desperately for a plausible excuse when Teacher Wong inadvertently came to my rescue. "Yan Junling, Wu Chunmei, stop talking at once and start paying attention," she commanded in a loud voice. "Now I want all of you to listen carefully. Tomorrow is a very special day because it is election day. Tomorrow is the day when you will cast your votes to choose your class president. Do you remember what your headmistress told you at General Assembly 2 weeks ago? To refresh your memory, she has instructed me to read that part of her speech again. Being class president of your grade, the 6th grade, is a rare honor. To begin with, this year will be your final year at Shangxin Primary School. On graduation, most of you will go on to 1st grade at Aurora Middle School next door. Yours is the only class permitted to elect its president democratically, the same as in the United States of America. The head girls of all the lower forms are chosen by their form mistress. Only in your form, the 6th and highest form, do we allow a free election to be held. Instead of suggesting names to you, we grant you the right to nominate your own candidates. The winner will be president not only of your class, but the head girl of our entire school. The election will be held in our classroom during the first period tomorrow. I have brought some colored balloons and large sheets of scrap paper. During recess and for 1 hour after school today, you are permitted to stay in your classroom and blow up balloons or work on your campaign posters if you so desire. Let this be your first experience of democracy in action." On hearing this, Wu Chunmei and I looked at each other with dismay. When our headmistress first made the announcement 2 weeks earlier, my friend had immediately nominated me as a candidate and volunteered to be my campaign manager. However, her birthday had driven all else from our minds, and we had forgotten all about it. Unfortunately, Chen Lei Lei, our chief rival, had not forgotten. Her father was a military general in the Nationalist Army. She came to school every morning in a chauffeured black Cadillac, complete with bulletproof glass, escorted by an armed White Russian bodyguard. Between periods, Chen Lei Lei handed out chocolate bars, beef jerky, pencils, and bookmarks to the whole class. I, of course, had nothing to give to anybody, not even to Wu Chunmei. During recess, Teacher Wong wrote on the blackboard in big characters, "Tomorrow is free election day for class president. Come and cast your votes." We blew up balloons and hung them from window ledges and overhead light fixtures. We wrote giant characters with brush and ink on huge posters, "Victory, Democracy, Free Vote," and stuck them to the walls. Our classroom looked colourful and festive. We were proud when we saw the lower formers gawking enviously through the window. When the bell rang at the end of our last class, Wu Chunmei said, "Yan Junling, you'd better make a speech before everyone goes home. Teacher Wong said we could stay for 1 hour after school. Now is your chance." I was nervous, but I knew I had to seize the opportunity, so I said, "Okay." Wu Chunmei climbed onto her chair and made an announcement. To our amazement, everyone stayed to listen, including Teacher Wong. I tried to keep calm, but my mouth felt dry and my heart was pounding as I changed places with Wu Chunmei and stood on her chair. "Fellow classmates," I began, Wu Chun Mei has nominated me as a candidate for class president. She doesn't know this, but I think she should be the candidate instead of me. Not only is she a natural leader and a superb linguist, she is also our school champion in shuttlecock, ping pong, and badminton. Compared to her, I am truly a nobody. My only attribute is that I have never been absent from school in the 5 years I've been coming here. The reason for this is because I love my school and prefer to be here than anywhere else in the world. If Wu Chun Mei is elected, I shall try to persuade her to donate some of her old books so that we can start a school library where we can go and read if we feel like it. There was applause, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw Chen Lei Lei preparing to make her speech. I got down from my chair and whispered to Wu Chun Mei, "I'm sorry, but I have to go home now. I've already stayed longer than I should. My mother will be very angry if I'm late." "What's this about me being class president all of a sudden?" Wu Chun Mei asked. "I meant every word I said. You deserve it more than anybody else." "We'll see about that. But do you really have to go? Can't you stay for another half an hour?" "I wish I could. You have no idea how much I would love to stay." I had a sudden vision of Niang in her brown leopard's dress lying in wait for me in my room and felt breathless with terror. "I'm so sorry. I simply can't stay any longer." Something in my voice touched her. "All right," she said. But as I hurried out with my school bag, she added, "Don't worry. I'll win this thing for you. Afterwards, let's have a party in my house to celebrate. Mama says we still have a lot of cake left over from my birthday." I was so scared of being late, I ran all the way home. On entering the back door, I saw Ah Sun chopping vegetables in the kitchen. She stopped when she saw me and asked me to bring a thermos flask of hot water to my Aunt Baba. "Is she home already?" I asked, delighted and surprised. "Yes, she came back early. This water has just boiled and is piping hot. Wait here while I fill the flask, and you can take it up to her for me." I crept upstairs with the thermos flask and my school bag. Aunt Baba was sitting in an easy chair facing the garden and knitting. I put down everything quietly by the door, then tiptoed softly behind her and clapped my hands over her eyes. "Boo! Silly girl, I've been waiting for you. Yuya and I have just been talking about you. I came home so late last night we didn't have a proper talk. What did your father say to you yesterday after he whipped you?" I looked at her lined, careworn face, her kind eyes peering out from behind thick glasses, and her straight black hair combed back into a bun with white strands above her ears. Somehow I found it difficult to tell her. Besides, I didn't really want to remember his words. "Nothing. He didn't say much." I busied myself pouring us a cup of hot water. "Close the door and come sit by me. I have to do my homework." She smoothed my hair as I sat down at my writing table and set out my books. "Tell me what your father said." "I just told you. He said nothing. Look, leave me alone and let me do my arithmetic, okay? I must study. It's very, very important." "Why are you getting angry?" "I don't know. I want to forget about everything that goes on here. I love my school. There I have friends. There I have fun. We sit together and discuss books and things. My friends respect me. My teachers like me. They've nominated me for class president. Tomorrow is election day. Please don't ask any more questions." There was a knock on our door, and Yuya entered. He regarded me with dismay as I lowered my head in shame at my outburst. I thought he would scold me, but instead he turned to Aunt Baba. "Let her study. She won't disappoint you. When you've reached my age, you know which children are weak and which are strong. Don't ask her too many questions. Don't criticize her or tear her down. I don't want her to grow up like Big Sister. She is going to be different." The next day started off with a bang. We couldn't wait to cast our votes. Although Teacher Wong had written the names of 5 nominated candidates on the blackboard, I knew my only true rival was Chen Lei Lei. The others were simply too disorganized. Teacher Wong placed a large cardboard box on her desk. She passed out small sheets of paper on which we wrote the name of our chosen candidate. One by one, we walked up to insert our ballots in a slit in the middle of the box. After all the votes were cast, Teacher Wong shook the box and read out each name while we tallied the total in our notebooks. Chen Lei Lei, who had the best handwriting and topped the class in calligraphy, was ordered to write the number of votes against each candidate's name on the blackboard. The results were close, but in the end, it was really Wu Chunmei who won the election for me. Because of her athletic ability, she was very popular. Everyone wanted my friend on her team. By endorsing me instead of campaigning for herself, she was able to sway many who were undecided. Because she and I united and formed a team, we consolidated our votes and won. All day we reveled in our success. Though I was a little fearful that Wu Chunmei would again mention the party at her house after school, she said nothing more about it. I walked home as soon as school was let out. It was a beautiful afternoon, sunny and cool. Avenue Joffre bristled with trams, cars, rickshaws, and pedicabs. The jagged leaves on the giant sycamore trees lining the boulevard were turning russet and golden brown in the autumn sunshine. I felt on top of the world as I bounced along the pavement, running and skipping now and then from sheer exuberance. What did it matter that I was a disgrace to my parents? How could anyone full of bad blood be elected class president? What was bad blood anyway? Niang predicted a hopeless future for me. Father said nothing would come of me. In spite of this, my classmates had chosen me as their chief representative. In her speech, Teacher Wong congratulated me on my triumph in our first election, democratically and honestly held, just as in America, the greatest country in the world. As she spoke, I thought, though my parents tell me I'm worthless, I've proved them wrong. Of all the girls in my classmates chose me to be their class president. I must forget about my home. In my other life, my real life, I'm not worthless. They respect me. As soon as I entered my house by the back door, my happiness started to seep away. Cook and Ah Sun were in the kitchen cleaning a fish for dinner. They hardly looked up when I walked by. I greeted them with the news that I was now the newly elected president of my class. Their very posture reminded me that I was still in disgrace from the birthday party fiasco 2 days before. Cook waved me on impatiently, obviously less than impressed by my victory. "Can't you see we've work to do?" he asked brusquely. I climbed the stairs and went into my room. When I closed the door and laid out my homework on my desk, the weight of the rest of the house seemed to slide off my heart. Shafts of sunlight flooded in from the large windows, exposing tiny particles of dust dancing in its wake. I took out my exercise book where today's votes were tallied, relishing once more the thrill of the contest and the triumph of my victory earlier that morning. Head girl of Shangshin. How sweet life was. In a dreamy trance, I placed some water in the receptacle of my stone writing tablet, grinding a stick of charcoal against its moistened flat surface to make fresh ink. I lubricated my brush and started on my calligraphy. There was a knock on the door, and Ah Sun entered at once without waiting, looking flustered and fearful. "A crowd of your little friends is downstairs in the living room. They're asking for you," she whispered. Her words were like a thunderbolt out of a clear blue sky. I stared at her, dumbfounded. "Is my mother home?" I finally blurted out. "I'm afraid she is. So is your father." "Tell my friends I'm not home. Please send them away," I begged her desperately. Ah Sun shook her head. "I tried, but they know you're here. Apparently they followed you home from school and saw you enter the door. They want to give you a surprise celebration party for winning the election for class president. Everyone has brought a gift. They mean well." I know. I felt panic-stricken, but had no choice but to follow Ah Sun to the parlor. As I crept down the stairs, I could hear the giggles and screams of my classmates resounding through the entire house. I bit my lower lip and forced myself to go in and greet my friends. They surrounded me, shouting, "Surprise! Congratulations! Victory! Singing and chanting slogans, drunk with euphoria and excitement. No one seemed to notice my tongue tied silence. I shifted my eyes away from meeting anyone else's, afraid that my secret home life was about to be exposed. Inside, I was quaking with terror, hoping against hope that Niang would leave us alone until I could politely ask my friends to leave. Our son reappeared and touched me on the arm. Your mother wishes to see you now. I fought against the panic surging within and forced a stiff smile onto my face. I wonder what she wants, I said with a shrug, hating myself for the pretense. Excuse me for a moment. My mind was blank when I knocked on the door of the Holy of Holies. My parents sat side by side in a little alcove overlooking the garden. I tried to close the door after me, but Niang told me to leave it open. I stood in front of them with my head hanging and my eyes fixed on Niang's red silk slippers. I could hear, indeed, we could all hear, the gleeful squeals of a dozen merry 10-year-old girls echoing through the entire house. Who are these little hooligans? Niang began, her voice seething with anger, making such a racket in the living room downstairs. They're my friends from school. Who invited them here? No one. What are they doing here? They came to celebrate my winning the election for class president. Is this party your idea? No, Niang. I shook my head in denial. They came of their own accord. I didn't know anything about it. Come here, she screamed. I approached her gingerly, trembling with terror. She slapped my face so hard I almost fell. Liar! You planned it, didn't you, to show off our house to your penniless classmates? How dare you? No, I didn't. Tears streaked down my cheeks, and I found it hard to breathe. Your father works so hard to feed and clothe all of you. He comes home for a nap, and there's not a moment of peace. What insolence to invite them into our living room and make such a racket. I never asked them here. They know I'm not allowed to go to their house after school, so they decided to visit me instead. She slapped me with the back of her hand against my other cheek. Show off! I'll teach you to be so sneaky, she screamed loudly. Go downstairs this minute and tell your hooligan friends to get out. They are not welcome. As I hesitated and shuffled my feet, she hit my face yet again. Do you hear me? She yelled at the top of her voice. I want them out of the house this minute. Are you deaf? Tell them to Gundan, get lost, and never come here again. Never, never, never. I clenched my fists and made my way slowly down the stairs. An eerie silence now permeated the house. My classmates must have heard Niang's every word through the open door of the Holy of Holies. My nose and eyes were drenched, and I had wiped them with the back of my sleeve. To my horror, I saw bright red blood staining my hand and dress. Drops of blood trickled freely from my nose onto the floor. I realized Niang's blows must have caused a nosebleed, and that my face was probably smeared with a mixture of blood, mucus, and tears. I re-entered the living room and stood in front of my classmates, unable to say a word. I felt naked and ghastly and vulnerable. None of them looked at me, and I dared not look at them. At school, I had been so careful to pretend I came from a loving family. Now they knew the pathetic truth. Unwanted and unloved by my own parents. How long did it take for a person to die of shame? Finally, I choked out to the room at large. My father wishes to sleep. They want you to go home now. I am sorry. No one replied, but in the painful silence, Wu Chun-mei took out her handkerchief and handed it to me. I shrugged and tried to give her a smile of thanks, but something in her eyes suddenly made it impossible for me to feign nonchalance. With tears strangling my voice, I told them, Thank you for coming. I'll never forget your loyalty. One by one they trooped out, leaving their gifts by my side. Wu Chun-mei lingered and was the last to go. As she filed past the stairway, she shouted toward the Holy of Holies, This is unfair! You're cruel and barbaric! I'll tell my father! I gathered my presents and hesitated at the threshold of my parents' room, thinking about running away. Their door was wide open. Father ordered me to go in, close the door, and unwrap my packages. Out came a jumbled collection of comics, kung fu novels, a chess set, a skipping rope, packages of treats, salted plums, sweet ginger slices, and dried watermelon seeds, and a sheet of calligraphy paper with the character Victory prominently stroked out with brush and ink. Throw the whole lot into the waste paper basket, Father commanded. I hurried to comply. Why should your classmates give you gifts? Niang asked suspiciously. It's because we won the election today. I'm now class president. We worked hard at it. Niang interrupted me in the middle of my explanation. Stop bragging, she screamed. Who do you think you are? A princess of some sort that all your friends should come and pay you tribute? Are you getting altogether too proud and conceited? No matter what you consider yourself to be, you are nothing without your father. Nothing, nothing, nothing. You've breached our trust in you when you asked your friends to come here and insult us, Father said in a quiet voice which made me grit my teeth in pain. Family ugliness should never be revealed in public. Since you're not happy here, you must go somewhere else. But where can I go? Who will take me in? I asked shakily. We're not sure, Father replied cruelly. Times were hard, and on my way to school in the early mornings, I had seen infants wrapped in newspapers left to die in doorways. Beggar children in rags routinely rummaged the garbage cans searching for food. Some were reduced to eating the bark peeled off the sycamore trees lining the street on which we lived. What's going to happen to me? Will I be sold? I knelt in front of them in a state of panic. You don't know how lucky you are to be fed and housed here in these uncertain times, Father said. Apologize to your Niang. I apologize, Niang. It's your aunt who has taught you to lie and cheat. She feeds your arrogance by giving you money behind our backs, Niang said. She is an evil influence. Before it's too late, you must move out of her room and not speak to her again. We'll find you an orphanage which will take you in until you're old enough to find a job to support yourself. Your father has enough to worry about without the likes of you. You can go now. The thought of being separated from my aunt filled me with dread. Somberly, I climbed the stairs and went back to the room I shared with her, perhaps for the last time. After a sleepless night, I walked to school the next morning feeling apprehensive and ashamed. Along the way, I kept asking myself, what will my friends say this time? How will my voters look at me? Will I be the laughing stock of my class? Will everyone sneer and whisper about me during recess? I waited in the bathroom for a long time, reluctant to face my peers. When the bell rang, I was among the last to file into our classroom. Teacher Wong was already standing in front of the blackboard writing something with a piece of chalk. Immersed in my misery, I didn't pay any attention until Wu Chun-mei nudged me and pointed at our teacher's back. I looked and looked again. To my amazement, I saw my name, Yen Junling, written in big characters on the blackboard. Teacher Wong turned towards me and smiled proudly. I want the class to welcome and salute Yen Junling as your new class president. You have elected her of your own free will. From now on, she will be the one who will lead you in reciting Sun Yat-sen's last testament in front of our flag before lessons begin. When I am called away during class, she will take charge, and you are to report to her. Everyone clapped, and I glowed with happiness. The eyes of my supporters were shining with respect and admiration. I said to myself, how is it possible? Me, the same despised daughter publicly rejected by my parents yesterday, is now being honored by my teacher and classmates. Which is the true me? Though it's blatantly obvious that my father loathes me as much as my stepmother does, perhaps he'll change his mind one day if I bring him a few more honors. Besides, does he truly hate me, or is he just going along with her because he loves her more than me and wants a peaceful life? After all, I am his real daughter. All day, girls came up to offer their congratulations and pat me on the back. Nobody mentioned a word about being dismissed by my parents from my house. It was as if none of that ever happened. As I basked in their goodwill, yesterday's horrors started fading. By the time I walked home, I had put those dreadful memories behind and was light-heartedly skipping along the pavement from stone to stone. I pushed open the back door and reality rushed back at once. Cook was plucking a freshly killed chicken in the kitchen. He glanced at me and called out ominously, "Ah Sun, she's back from school." Now, why did he say that? I didn't wait to find out, but my spirits sank and happiness evaporated as I climbed the stairs, past the Holy of Holies where the door was mercifully closed, past the antechamber where my two half-siblings were having afternoon tea. No tea for the likes of me, of course, never tea for the likes of me. Past my grandfather Yeye's room. Yeye was standing at his door watching me with a sad expression on his face. He started to say something, but our son was calling out in a loud voice, "So you're back. Tell me what else belongs to you." She was in my room, kneeling on the floor and packing a suitcase. "What are you doing?" I asked foolishly. "What does it look like I'm doing? Your Niang ordered me to pack your clothes and move you out of your aunt's room. You are to sleep on the couch in your Yeye's room tonight. Tomorrow your father and Niang are flying to Tianjin, and you're to go with them." "To Tianjin tomorrow?" I exclaimed in dismay. "And Aunt Baba, what about her? Is she coming too?" "You must be dreaming. Your Niang says it's a bad thing you're always with her. She spoils you too much." "But I have homework to do." "Homework?" Ah Sun scoffed. "What for when you're flying off in an aeroplane at noon?" I ignored her and sat down at my desk, laid out my books and started my homework as if my life depended on it. As I tackled my maths and did my English translation, the gloom of tomorrow's departure seemed to lighten slightly. Ah Sun sneered at me, but I told her, "This is what I want to do on my last afternoon in Shanghai." She finished the packing and went away. I sat forlornly at the edge of the landing on the floor, longing for my aunt to come home, desolate at the thought that I would never be able to go back to school or see any of my friends again. I pictured them waiting vainly for me to lead them in reciting Sun Yat-sen's last testament tomorrow morning, and I felt an overwhelming sense of despair. For once, Aunt Baba was early. From the defeated way she walked up the stairs, I suspected she knew my fate. We entered our room and she closed the door. She peered over at my homework as she peeled off her coat. "Autumn has come early this year, and the weather turns chilly when the sun goes down," she murmured, taking my cold hands and rubbing heat into them. "Are you wearing enough clothes?" She looked for my sweater, fished it out of the packed suitcase, and noticed a hole in the elbow. She found needle and thread and started her repair, her forehead creased in concentration. She helped me put on my sweater. We sat side by side on her bed. She removed the key from the chain around her neck, opened her safe deposit box, and took out my stack of report cards. I knew that in her eyes my grades had been conferred with an extraordinary value. "Never mind," she said consolingly. "With such exceptional grades, you'll be able to become anybody you want. Let this be your secret weapon, your talisman, your magic charm which will bring you all the riches you can ever wish for. One day, the world will recognize your talent, and we'll leave them and live together in our own home, just the two of us." She didn't say how I should actually achieve this goal, seeing I was only 10 years old and in the 6th grade and about to be banished to a Tianjin orphanage. I saw the mortified stoop of her shoulders and had no heart to challenge anything she was saying. I understood dimly the importance of both of us relishing the dream, though I could think of nothing but the heart-rending prospect of being sent away from her forever. "Will you always be my aunt?" "Of course," she hugged me. "Will you write to me every week?" "Yes, and twice a week if you write to me too. For always, for as long as you're in Tianjin." She hugged me again. "And even after that, for as long as you'll remember me. And then?" "After that, it's entirely up to you. I'll be here for you as long as I'm alive. Surely you know that. But you must never forget the dream. Try to do your best at all times. You have something precious and unique deep inside you, which must not be wasted. I've always known that. You must prove them wrong. Promise? Yes, I promise.